Welcome back again, folks, to another episode of the Ram Quip Podcast. Today is Wednesday, April 29, 2026. And today you have myself, Leon Gaiman, here from Ram Quip and Universal Feeders, as well as Matt Nault. Today we thought we'd look a little bit at some of the upcoming sales and talk a little bit about getting prepared for buying a new Ram possibly. This time of year, it's a good idea to be putting some consideration and forethought into looking ahead to the fall breeding season and making sure you have your ducks in line, so to speak. So we thought maybe we'd talk about that a little bit. I know this time of the year people are busy. A lot of folks are weaning lambs right now, putting sheep out on grass, that kind of stuff. So what do you got going on at the moment, Matt? It's about time to start thinking about mowing first cutting hay.
Yeah, that was something I thought would be good to touch on a little bit. I know that one always creeps up on me this time of year. It's cold and cold, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're buried in grass here, and it's popping out seed heads. And with the weather the way it is in the springtime here, you usually got to watch your chance to get that first cutting before it gets too mature because it gets mature really fast. So.
It
So,
does.
I have about a 4-acre pasture that I set aside. I just didn't I mean, we had plenty of animals to graze it, but to get them out there and wasn't really fitting in my schedule, so I wanna make hay off of that here early. Hopefully, I don't know, in another week, if we get nice weather, I'm gonna be cutting that. I'll try and get it early, and
Are
then
you gonna wrap it or are you gonna make it dry?
I'd like to make it dry. I don't really need any wrapped meta hay, so yeah, we'll have to see what that's the challenge with this time of year is to be able to make dry hay. Um, but yeah, so starting to look at that, and then the rest of our hay will probably be a little bit longer yet, but definitely something to start thinking about and getting equipment ready.
Yeah, so I know in my area here, it's pretty tough. First cutting can be really, really tough. Our ground is pretty saturated yet. Um, unless you have some really low humidity days, it can be tough to.
Every year I decide that I'm not gonna try and even make first cutting dry. It's just it is I mean, it's a lot easier for us, I'm sure, than it is for you, but it's tough to get that first cutting dry, but, I don't really wanna wrap metal hay, but I can if I need to. I'd like to have it as some nice dry hay to use where I need it, but
Yep,
we'll see what the weather does. Doesn't look like haying weather anytime real soon here.
it doesn't. It's pretty cool here. Even the next 2 weeks are just gonna be 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I stuck some of my early corn in last week, right at the end of that last warm spell, and I don't know, I'm kinda regretting it now, but we'll see what happens.
yeah.
It can stay in.
You don't have any frost in the forecast or anything yet.
No, it's just kinda cold and rainy, it ain't gonna come up real fast, so.
Yeah, I need a little bit of heat. I know things have really, really jumped. That heat we had like a week ago
Yeah.
really, really made stuff.
Yeah, well, that first one, like, the middle of April there, it was probably about 2 weeks ago when we had a couple 90-degree days. We went from, "It's a little early to put sheep out there on grass," to, like, "Man, we're getting buried in grass real quick." So, yeah, um, but
Yeah.
yeah.
In my pasture, I'm almost halfway through my first rotation. I've just been, I got him out in good time. I wanna see if I can keep ahead of it.
uh
Um, but it's gonna catch up. If it gets warm, boy, we're gonna lose it.
Yeah,
It's just the way it works.
yeah.
So,
Have you pulled cedars yet?
no, I didn't put them in yet.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
we have all ours in. We pulled a couple, we'll pull a bunch here this week, so
yep. I'm gonna put him in this week yet. I I have one of the Go Ramquip Go Flock systems here. It's actually set up out there in the pasture right now. So, um, actually the sheep are in the section where it is right now. So I'm either hoping today or tomorrow yet to put the first round in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're planning to pull the bulk of them Friday, and then the rest of them will pull beginning of next week.
yeah.
Then we'll have our AI group yet, but that'll be everything then. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mentioned some of the sales that are coming up, and I don't know about you, Matt, but I already have people calling looking for ewe lambs, and I don't have anything available anymore other than I'm gonna put just a handful, maybe just a couple in my online sale there in July. But when people are thinking about buying rams and stuff, it's time to be thinking about that now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we have quite a few sales that are already scheduled throughout the summer here, and now's the time to be, talking with potential, like the breeders you're thinking of working with, that kind of stuff, getting a plan in place, getting on a list, maybe putting deposits down. Um, Obviously the online sales, you can't do that, but
Yeah.
it's time to make sure you are looking ahead because you don't want to come down to August, September, October, and the picking choice is pretty thin until you get
Yeah.
that late in the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I always this time of year, I always like to sit down and look at, like, what rams are we gonna need, and I won't necessarily know exactly where we're gonna get those rams from, but, at least I know what rams I'm looking for, and then as sales come up, it also helps if there's a ram that comes up for sale that I kinda like, but if I hadn't planned to buy one for of that breed or whatever, it's a lot easier to say, "Well, yeah, I kinda like him, but I don't really need another Katahdin Ram this year." Or
Sure.
although I'm always looking for D1, but no, it's definitely every year. So, we do our 2 sales a year, and that's all we sell. Every year after our summer sale in July, I get calls, August, September, I get calls like, "Hey, I'm looking for a ram. Do you have anything?" Well, we don't. Some breeders might, but, you're definitely your pick and choice. Even the guys that do your pick and choice is gonna be a lot lower, so, make that plan now, as to what you're gonna need as far as rams go, or ewes, I guess, for that matter. And that way you can start looking at, where you're gonna get them from.
Right.
And me and Leon have some ideas on where you could get some Katahdin rams anyway.
Right. Glenbrook Farms and LC Ranch, folks.
Yeah, those are the ones. They should be top of your list.
Yep.
Yeah. So you mentioned it a little bit, but you're planning to do an online sale here in July.
Yeah, we're planning to do another one July 7th.
What what do you think you're gonna have on there?
We're hoping to have probably 8 to 10 rams, and I'm thinking I put 2 ewe lambs on. I almost can't let any more ewe lambs go, but we're gonna put some on there and let it help round out the sale and gives people a chance at a couple of them.
Yeah. And those will all be registered Katahdins, right?
The ewe lambs will be the rams. We might put a couple percentage or else just put them as commercial. I have some, but yeah, most of them will be registered Catawbans.
Yep.
We don't have any. We don't have Dorper, Texel, Romanol. What else do we got? We don't have that quite that big of an offering here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's hard to beat the Katahdins, so
Yeah.
might as well stick with that, I guess.
So yeah, that's July 7th. the LC Ranch online sale, and that's going to be with Production Livestock Auctions again, like we did last year. And I guess you have a sale July 18th.
18th. Yeah.
And that'll be there at your farm again, like you've been doing.
Yep. And we'll do some education sessions and stuff in the morning, which we're working on that yet, but I think we're gonna have a lot of hands-on demonstrations and things like that. So
Yeah. Good.
always good time. But
And you're going to have
on that sale, we will have Katahdins, but we will also have Dorpers, and we will also actually have some Australian White Dorper Cross rams on that sale this year. We'll have Texels, and we'll have the Romanovs. So you got all the good stuff in one sale.
Yep.
Everything you need.
You got options to go a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
So definitely have some picking choice there.
Yeah.
Good. So that's July 18. I'm just looking. I have a list of a couple different sales here. July 8th is another online sale. The NSIP online ram and used sales July 8th.
Is that the same date as yours?
No, the 7th. Ours is the 7th.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. So if you don't get any on your sale, you can try
Hey
the
now,
other one.
there will be.
Yep. And if you don't get any on anyway, I'll stop. But yeah, the NSIP online sale, that's all NSIP sheep, usually a couple different breeds. Typically there's some Katahdins, there's almost always some Polypays.
Couple Dorsets sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe even a few
Some-
black-faced sheep sometimes.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
Sussex for
Just
sure.
depends what people decide to put on there.
Yeah.
We're talking about NSIP. The NSIP sale in Spencer, Iowa, and there's some education sessions and stuff with that. That one is July 25th.
Right.
And that's it's a lot more Polypays, a lot more wool sheep on that one, but there's usually some Katahdins on that one. And that one's out there in Spencer, Iowa. Um, if you want any more information on any of these sales, either Google it or reach out to us and we can get you some more information. We're just kind of going over them.
Sure.
But yeah, do you have when the NSIP or sorry, the
EAPK sale.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's for those that don't know, that's the Eastern Alliance for Production Katahdin Sale and Symposium, and that's July 10th and 11th. The sale is the 11th, and there's some educational topics on the 10th. And that sale is in Cookeville, Tennessee. The sale's on the 11th. They have some educational topics like they usually do.
Is that for the for that sale, does it have to be NSIP sheep?
It does, and there's some other criteria.
Yeah,
You
and
need to have
they're all Katahdins.
They're all Katahdins. The breeder has needed to submit data for for a couple years, I believe. It might be 2 years. Their website would tell you what specs you need to meet to be able to consign an animal to that sale.
You've
And
been down to that one already, right?
I was this past summer.
Yeah. They usually put on pretty good education sessions and,
They do. Yep,
everything.
they do a good job with the education sessions. And the Katahdin Expo, that's July 30th, 31st, and August 1st. So it's a 3-day event. It's Thursday evening. All day Friday is educational topics. And then the sale is Saturday, the 1st.
Yeah, and that's always or one of my favorites to go to and,
It is.
meet people and, come to think of it, that's where I met Liam many years ago, and so you never know. If you go there, you might be doing a podcast with someone in a couple years.
Yeah, that's like 15 years ago, probably.
That was in Cookeville, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I guess it was.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to my first Katahdin Expo and saw this guy that said Leola, PA on his name tag and convinced him to. I was actually there on my first anniversary trip,
Yeah.
and we were there in the car, so we couldn't haul any sheep in. So anyway,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that deal.
yeah, you hauled. I bought 3 ewes, and you bought a ram and maybe a ewe
Yeah.
or something, and we had.
No, I think I just bought a ram.
Right.
Well, maybe I don't know, maybe there was one you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up hauling him home for you, and I think I bred your ewes to that ram.
Ed. Yep.
Um, yeah, interesting. I think that was the second expo I was at. The first one I was at, was in Ohio, and this was when I was just getting started in sheep. I had a ram picked out that I wanted to buy, and I knew it was gonna be one of the higher selling ones, but, um, one other guy who was there said, "Oh, that guy's, he has good sheep, but they're usually not the top selling ones." Well, turned out that was the top selling one. I can still picture that ram in my head for some reason, and I didn't get him.
Yeah.
I think he went for like 2,500 bucks, which at that time, I mean, that's, I don't know, 15 plus years ago. At that time, I think that was a new record, for a Katahdin ram, but
Yeah.
anyway, so that started my woes of if I wanna buy something, it's usually gonna be the highest
Right.
some RAM.
So the Katahdin Expo, they do a really, really good job of educational topics too.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to meet other sheep producers, and
Mhm.
I always find that discussions that happen in the sheep barn there are, to me, are just as informative as sitting in some of the education sessions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a chance to meet producers from all over the US
right.
and even in other countries sometimes.
Yeah, that's where we met Victor Wolf, the guy we had on the podcast there just 2 weeks ago, I guess.
I
So
think so. Yeah.
yeah. So one thing we didn't mention was the Pipestone Facilities Tour. That's actually in June.
Yeah, I just
That
got an
could,
email about that the other day, but actually yesterday, I think, for those of you that don't know, the Pipestone group, I guess you would call it, is a group in the Midwest in Iowa, Minnesota area. Um, I don't know, a network of producers that all work together, share ideas, market lambs together, that sort of thing. But the Pipestone College kind of heads all that up, and they do a facility tour every other year. And so they're doing it this year, and it's June 2nd. It's a really interesting if you want to see a bunch of larger commercial operations, um, pretty much confinement based, with a focus on low labor inputs, profitable management. So I've learned a lot of things going to those tours over the years. I don't really think I'm gonna make it this year, but it's definitely worth the while for someone that's looking to grow and scale their sheep operation.
and most of these operations would be predominantly confinement based, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Some
confinement
of s-
baits and wool sheep.
yeah,
Although,
some of them might use a little bit of pasture certain parts of the year, but
yeah, like
ultimately,
a lot of the guys that we've toured, a lot of the farms we've toured over the years, it was they primarily did cash cropping, and then this was a side thing. So they would lamb all the ewes out over the winter in their barns, and then most of them had pasture that they would turn their ewes out in the summertime. But the lambs would never go out on grass. I don't think on any of these operations.
right, right,
And mostly wool sheep, although, 2 years ago, there was a Katahdin producer that was featured as well, so, maybe they're coming to see the light a little bit.
Yeah, who knows? Hey, folks, get your pen ready. I'll give a rundown just in a minute here of these different sales. And just to recap, if somebody wanted to mark their calendar. So any other sheep events that were missing? I mean, there's lots of other sales, but I think we touched on a couple of the
Yeah,
bigger events.
I think, yeah. Well, I guess the other one we didn't touch on would be the Midwest Stud Sale, which I have never been to. That's predominantly show sheep, but if that's someone's thing, um, they do have some good production sheep, especially certain breeds. That's kind of the sale to go to. So certain breeds, you'll get some good production sheep with Katahdins. A lot of your production producers will go to different sales in that.
And that is June 11th through the 14th.
Just looking.
I just looked it up.
Okay. Yeah,
So
so
and
that
that's
one's coming up.
what?
So that one's I mean, that would be one of the first
That was one of the first ones, yeah.
of the list here that we had.
And that is in Sedalia, Missouri.
Yep.
So
And there's a ton of online sales that different farms and stuff put on, pretty much starting now the whole way through the summer, so.
that's right. Yep. So just to recap that, starting in June, we have the Pipestone Facilities Tour. That's in Spencer, Iowa, June 2nd. We have the Midwest Stud Ram Sale in Sedalia, Missouri, June 11th through the 14th. We have my online sale here at LC Ranch. That's July 7th. Then we have the online NSIP Ram and U sale, July 8th. The EAPK sale and symposiums, July 10 and 11. Matt's sale there at Glenbrook Farms is July 18th. The NSIP sale in Spencer, Iowa is July 25th. And the Katahdin Expo in Cookeville, Tennessee is July 30th through August 1st. So
Yeah.
there you have it, folks.
Lots of options to buy from. Which of those events are you planning to go to, Leon?
There's a good chance I'll be at the expo. I don't know about the APK event.
Yeah, same here. Well, I know I won't go to UP. Ugh. Eastern Alliance for Production Katahdins. That one always trips me out. I know I won't go to that one, because our sale's the following week, but the expo I'll definitely be at. Um, one of these years I do want to go out to the Midwest stud sale. I'm not sure that it'll happen this year or not, but one of these
Yeah.
years I'd like to.
It'd be interesting. I'd like to do that Pipestone tour sometime too, but
Yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
worth it. Um, but yeah, I don't think I will this year. I've been on a couple of them.
Yeah, so we got all these Ram sales coming up. So how's the guy supposed to decide what he's supposed to buy?
Well, we already talked about that.
You just give Matt or Leon a call or what?
Yeah, there you go. No, that's a really good topic to bring up is how do you decide who to buy from? How do you maybe this is getting too far into the weeds, but how do you even decide which breed you want? Um, we would suggest Katahdins as a starting point, but there'd be a lot of differing opinions on that. Um, and how do you decide who to buy from?
So let's start with how do we decide who to buy from? So
Yep.
one thing that I think is important is to look for a producer with a similar management
Mhm.
system because he's already managing his animals like you want, and there's a higher chance that the animal will function the way you want in your operation. I think that's one place to start.
I would say that's the number one is someone that's doing what you wanna do. Not saying that's the only place you can buy rams from, but that I think should be number 1.
Yeah, and I know I would consider myself to be maybe I don't know if you call it a hybrid, but I'm not quite the same as what your operation is, but yet I'm not like a strictly pasture based. Um, and I know I have brought in some rams from very, very strict forage based operations,
Yep.
and some of them have done very well in my operation, um, and actually performed better probably than what they would have in the operation they were in that we got them from. So it can work both ways, but
Well, I think us as seed stock producers, I I'm gonna be quicker to go out there and take a chance on something from a producer that manages completely different than me to try and get something new. You know, if he has something I want, I'm gonna bring that in and see how it does for me. On a commercial producer, do you really wanna take that risk? You know, I think you're definitely safer to buy from somebody that's doing what you're doing. Where
right,
if I buy a RAM from someone that's doing completely different than me, or even just in a completely different part of the country than me, I do it knowing that that RAM will probably not perform for me like he did in that other flock. But I think there's something there that it can pull out genetically.
right. So something that Ryan from Aiming Livestock, Sheep Stuff You Should Know podcast, something I've heard him say that has stuck with me. So he buys, and I hope I still remember this and have this all right, but the way I understand, he has, certain breeders he goes to for his rams.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, he made the comment that if you are always buying, you don't have to buy the most expensive ram that that breeder has to sell, or maybe you're buying on a sale and you don't have to buy the $5,000 ram necessarily. But as long as you are buying from the program that is going in the direction that you want to go,
Yeah.
your flock will keep going in that direction. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yep, everything breeds back to the average, and I
Right.
shouldn't say that because I like selling those high dollar rams, but everything breeds back to the average, and the point there is that really good ram, how do I wanna say that? He
Yeah, you,
probably
you,
is
you gotta
very
break that apart a little more.
how do you mean?
Well, so what do you mean when you say every animal breeds back to the average? Like, I get what you're saying, but like, I think we need to break that apart a little more.
Yeah, well, I think if let's say you wanna look at the flock as a whole
There we go.
because that's the foundation, and then from there, we're looking for animals that are a little better yet, but at least we know where the average of the flock's at. Does that
Right.
make more sense?
Yeah. So in other words, worst case scenario, he should be as good as the flock average. Is that
Right.
right?
That's kinda what we're saying.
And we're hoping that he's on the top side of
Yeah.
that average.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look
I
at it.
if you, because I don't believe in home runs, necessarily. If you like, if you have a flock where, man, I don't like any of their sheep, but this one ram, you're taking a big risk that that ram's actually as good as you think he is. Where if you kinda like everything, but this one's a little better yet, I mean, that's usually the difference between the couple $1,000 ram and the couple $100 RAM is he's just a little bit better. So yeah, you always want to look at everything the producer's producing.
Right. And I think that goes back to Ryan's comment that as long as you're buying from their program and hopefully they're selling the better end of their program,
Right.
or for sure not below the average, and that's going to keep taking your flock the same direction as that seed stock producer's flock is going.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Another comment that I came across recently that I thought was interesting was a good salesman can sell you a RAM, a good producer selects one. What's your thoughts on that?
I've never heard that before, but I mean, I like it.
Have you ever have you ever had somebody buy an animal from you and then they're there to pick it up maybe and you're having a discussion, you learn more about their program and you're like, "Man, I really wish you would have bought this one."
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
happened to you already?
Definitely. And with our sales now, everything's sold through that. So it's a little different scenario, but it's always I get this question all the time. What's the best RAM on your sale? Well, the answer is going to be different
Tell me more.
for this guy than that guy.
Yeah, like you need more information.
Right, right, because there is no I mean, there's always outstanding RAMs on the sale that I'm like, "This is my favorite," but depends what your producer model is. I tell people, like, if I have that really outstanding RAM on my sale, for me, really outstanding when I'm thinking of the Katahdins, really outstanding is usually the really prolific ones that also couple good phenotype with it. But like that's kind of the outstanding part to me. I will literally tell probably half of my customers that you do not want to buy that RAM. 'Cause, probably half of my customers are more of a low input system. They don't want a lot of twins. I mean, they don't want a lot of triplets. They want easy care sheep that they can put out on grass and do well with. And I will tell them like that you do not want to buy that RAM. Now to the other guy that's more of a higher input system like we have that wants to keep pushing his number lambs born, wants to keep pushing his accelerated lambing, I'm gonna tell him, "That's your RAM. You know, if you can afford that RAM, buy that one."
Right.
So that's what I mean by that. And I'm a terrible salesman, so I really like the comment that, you made about, um how was that again?
A
A
good
good
salesman
salesman
can
can
sell
sell
a RAM, a good producer selects one, and I'm not sure how to take all that or whether I quite buy it all, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe it's because 'cause I'm too independent, like, I wouldn't want Matt to pick a RAM for me, like, in other words, I wanna have some say in this too, and that's
Right, but you would still okay, so let's say you come to me and you wanna buy a RAM. You're still gonna tell me, "This is what I'm looking for, which ones do you think I should be looking at?"
yep,
Not just the, "Hey, pick me the RAM and send it out to me." You're not gonna do that
no,
because you have a pretty good idea what you want. Some people might, and that might be their best choice. But you're still gonna say, "Well, okay." If you look down over the list, you're gonna be like, "I'm kinda stuck between these 2. Which one do you think's the best?" And get that input.
yeah, right,
Am I right?
yeah, yep,
You're not just gonna say, "Well, Matt, pick me out the best one and send it to me. This is what I'm looking for. Pick me out the best one and send it to me." Um
right,
but,
yeah,
um, what I guess we should probably be wrapping it up here, but, um producers need to think about what they're looking for in a RAM, and I'm not gonna tell you what to look for. I mean, I can tell you what we look for, but every producer is gonna be different. But Maybe have some of those goals written down ahead of time of what you want to improve with your flock, what direction you want to go to. Because again, that can help really with when you start watching these sales and you get excited about this or that ram, and there's a lot of salesmen out there. It can help keep you grounded to what you really need in your flock. Um, and just, think it through a little bit. Like for us, data is really important. I know it's not so much for everybody, but to me, I mean, the easy thing to look at is just, oh, is it a nice meaty ram to build the type I like? And that's great. I'd like selecting for those things and breeding for those things and all that. But if that's all I'm looking at, that's really not telling me whether that ram's gonna produce ewe lambs that make me money in the future.
Right, and just the simple thing of, is it a single? Is it a twin?
Yeah.
It when you're buying that ram when he's 6, 7 months old, a twin or a triplet or a single, I think you're almost at some point, you can't tell it anymore, but with those younger rams, there's a segment of time that it will make a visible difference.
I I have noticed the single born rams always look better, even at boy, sometimes even at yearlings that you can still see that.
Yeah,
If you
that's
get that early push on a lamb, um, that stays with him for a lifetime, it seems, to a certain degree. To a
yeah,
cer
it's definitely more visible in that first half, 3/4 of the year, but yeah, it could definitely hang on for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. You got to look at what you want to improve. I mean, you mentioned that nice meaty lamb. That's we're thinking about growth rate. You can think of maternal traits. I know those of us that are in NSIP, we have those specific data points we look at. We look at our maternal weaning weight, our number of lambs born and weaned, which are all measurements of production, prolificacy, mothering instinct, milk production. Then we have parasite resistance. That's more important to some producers, especially if they're a pasture based
Mm.
um, operation. And you can even go into things like structure. Um,
You should
is it correct?
you should go into structure, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to throw that out.
I shouldn't say you can. It's
You
definitely
should.
something.
It just depends how heavy of a selection you wanna put on it.
Right, and I guess when I say you can, I'm thinking when you look at your ewe flock and you're thinking about what you want to improve, if you say, well, my feet, legs, everything, it's really pretty good. I just want to make sure we don't lose anything.
So
Or if you say, boy, I got a problem, you might want to put more pressure on that. And that goes for any of those traits. If you say that, what, I want to have an average weaning weight of 55 pounds and you're only doing 40 or 45 right now, well then, and I'm just throwing some numbers out there, but you need to pay closer attention. That's where you want to put some pressure.
yep, yep. Identify those goals and that are important to you. Hair coat with Urcatodons, it seems that one. I mean, and again, and that one's kinda interesting because it's not as long as you don't have to shear them. There's no commercial value necessarily to having better shed ewes. That's just one where we like to see nice clean ewes.
It sure makes the shepherd feel good to look out
Oh,
there and see everything's.
and it's easy enough to select for. But I
It
tell
is.
you what, that's one that just it keeps creeping back on you if you don't watch.
Yeah, if you don't keep pressure on it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then, are you a seed stock producer or are you a commercial shepherd? That's going to maybe dictate whether you're looking for a terminal sire or not. if you're a seed stock producer, obviously you want to breed to a purebred registered ram. But I know I've said it again, I've said it a lot of times. If you're a commercial producer just selling market lambs and you aren't doing some kind of terminal sire cross, I think you're leaving money on the table.
Or even maternal cross if it's something that fits in your program.
And you're thinking something like a Romanov, something to add more
Yeah,
prolificacy. Yeah,
or like a Dorper on a Katahdin ewe to I mean, there you're looking at it more, like, say, a Dorper on a Katahdin ewe, you're looking at it more to put more meat on those lambs, but a Dorper's still a good maternal ewe, so you can it's not a terminal sire, you can keep ewe lambs out of that cross for future daughters.
you can, but how far do you want to? That's gonna depend a little bit on what your goals are. But at s- at some point, if you're hard set on the Katahdin traits or what the Katahdin is well known for, at some point, if you get too much Dorper influence, you're going to lose some of that.
Right, you're gonna have to balance.
There are Dorpers out there that are more prolific than others. There are Dorpers out there that have better feet than others. There's Dorpers out there that are more parasite resistant than others. And I'm going to put this out there, and I know that we have made some remarks about Dorpers, but I really would like to encourage somebody. I don't know as many Dorper producers,
Yeah.
but I would really like to bring a Dorper producer on that has some data behind their animals, and I would love to have them on just to have a good discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Dorpers. But like you said, there is some issues there, but I think the first step to correcting some of those issues is acknowledging that they're there and then working towards improving them. But I like that 50% Katahdin Dorper Cross U is still pretty hard to beat, I think.
And in your experience, the ones that you have there, you would say they're still just as prolific as a, and you probably have a little bit of the
50%.
heterosis effect coming
Yep.
in.
At 50%, we find they're still just as prolific, and the reason that works, I think, is from that heterosis effect,
Yeah.
because now you have a crossbred ewe,
Yep.
um, so, yeah, I'm still a fan of those, they were that cross was really popular in our area for a while, and then, it seemed like a lot of and these are more smaller flocks, so they don't have a huge breeding program, but it seemed like a lot of those guys, found good Katahdin genetics and decided, well, they like these Katahdins better. But I'm still a fan of that Katahdin Dorper Cross ewe on a commercial flock.
One thing that I really like, we're getting in the weeds here now. One thing I really like about the Dorper and the Dorper Katahdin cross is I like the Dorper's ability to keep some fat cover on them,
Yep.
body condition, even on I don't want to say poor quality forage,
Lower quality.
lower quality.
Yep.
They just do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, those things just blow up, like, on our system of putting them in the barn on full feed, those things get way too fat.
Yeah.
We we really should run a different program, for our Dorper lambs because, yeah, they blow up on that, and so, yeah, if you're doing, like, a grass finished lamb, I think you'd gain a lot by having some Dorper in there, um because of that extra just their ability to fatten up on lower quality feeds.
Yep. So anything else we should be looking at when you think about buying a ram? I mean, obviously we could really go into this, but um I think we kind of gave a little bit of an outline. Look at what traits you're trying to improve. Um, find a breeder that you trust and want to work with, and somebody that's has an operation somewhat similar to yours at least.
Yep.
And
Go see their operation
absolutely.
if you can, yeah, see what you think of what they're doing. That would be, yeah.
One little I don't know if you want to call it a little pick I have, but if you want to move your flock forward genetically, and let's say you're a smaller flock, let's say you have 30 ewes, 40, 50 ewes, whatever, to really benefit from the genetic potential of bringing in a new sire, you have to keep daughters back.
Yeah.
Like you're going to see, you buy a a ram that has good growth, good, nice, chunky build. Yeah, you're gonna see that phenotype, that body build type show up in your lambs. But your base ewe flock is still what it always was.
Yeah.
And to really move your flock forward, you have to keep daughters back from
Well, and then
from that sire.
if you're keeping daughters back, now you wanna focus on the maternal traits more than just on that nice, meaty, growthy ram.
Right, absolutely. Keep the ewe lambs back from, I mean, I don't know, select your top 20% or something
Yeah.
and call off your worst producing ewes and replace them with 10-20% of of the daughters from your best ewes.
Yeah.
And depending on what time of the year it is, I know this past winter here, there was I sold a few call ewes that had some mastitis issues and stuff, and I got very, very good money.
Yep.
Very good money for those call ewes, and we got $250 a head for some of them.
Yep. That's a good time to move them on.
And I know lamb prices are what they are, and sending those ewe lambs to market, you can get $350 maybe for them.
Yep.
But definitely to fully benefit from the genetic potential of that new sire you bring in, you definitely got to keep back some daughters. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think that's a wrap for that.
Sounds good.
Keep in mind your upcoming sales. If you got questions about any of the rams that Matt I plan to have on our sales, give us a shout.
Yep.
Matt, you wanna put an email address or anything out there?
They can find it on our
Website, brookfarms.online.
yeah,
You can
the number we've put out plenty already, but I guess I could again. It's 717-419-1980. People can text or call me on that, and I usually get back into within a day or two or three, depends what I'm doing.
sure. And I will be uploading information in the near future, more details on our sale here at LC Ranch, and you can find that at www.thelcranch.com. And like always, if you're looking for sheep and goat equipment, remember this podcast is hosted by us here at Lost Creek Wholesale with Ram Quib and Universal Feeders. You can always give us a call, 717-310-3641. Thanks again, folks. Catch up with you later.
Have a good day.
See ya.